Okay, so Uncle G, first of all, can you tell me your full name?
Gian Singh Sandhu.
Okay, and what are your parents' names?
My father's name is Baba Singh Sandhu,
Mm-hmm.
and mother's name was Kartar Kaur Sandhu.
Okay, and do you have any brothers and sisters?
I had one sister,
Okay.
not living anymore, so she
Oh.
passed away. So did my parents.
Okay. And where were you born?
I was born in a village called Rurka Kalan,
Okay.
Rurkalan,
Okay.
in the district of Jalandhar.
Okay. And what is your birthday?
I have 2 birthdays.
Okay.
Tell you an interesting story behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The birthday that I use and has been accepted is my school birthday.
Okay.
This is the first day when I went to school.
Okay.
How it happened is that my cousin and I were both taken by my grandfather to school. My cousin was 2 years older than me.
Okay.
After he got him enrolled, and he asked the headmaster if he could take me in as well.
Hmm.
He said, no, he has to be of a certain age. He said, what age he has to be?
Okay.
He said, 6 years. He says, he's 6 years today. So the point blank white lie by my grandpa got my date fixed to September 10, 1942.
Okay.
When in real sense, my mother told me my date was July 23rd, 1943.
Okay. That's interesting. So how long did you live in that village for?
Until my high school.
Until high school.
Yeah.
And did you graduate at the high school?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And
Then what did you study?
then I joined the Air Force.
Oh, okay, in India.
In India, I joined the Air Force, and that's where I did my advanced education.
Okay. And what was your advanced education?
I finished my Bachelor of Commerce while I was there. I finished my Association of International Accountants education while I was there,
Okay.
and then came over here.
Okay. And did you do any other jobs than the Air Force in India?
No.
Okay. And what year did you come to Canada?
I left the Air Force in 1969, applied to come to Canada in 1970, January, got selected in February, and came, actually, I intentionally stayed back for a while, so came in December of 1970.
And why did you stay back for a
I
while?
just wanted to spend some more time with my parents.
Okay. And what was the selection process like?
It was a point system, which is still prevalent these days.
Okay.
And that point system was introduced in the law in Canada in 1967. So under that system, people had to be assessed for their professional skills, educational skills, and the language skills.
Okay.
And you also got a few points for having relatives in Canada who could support you.
Okay.
So I had my brother-in-law and my mother-in-law here.
Okay.
And in fact, our history in Canada goes much deeper. My wife, Sandhu Kaur's grandfather came here in 1904.
Okay. And what did he come here to do, to work in the...
Well, if you look at the history of immigrants in the early part of the 20th century, they were all brought in as laborers.
Yeah.
There was a labor shortage. And that's how people started coming in. So he came in as a laborer, but there was a lot of discriminations.
Okay.
And this is long before Kamagaramaro.
Yeah.
And conflicts were taking place more with the Japanese and Chinese immigrants, and Sikhs were a bit sidelines at that time. And when you look at that part of our history, you'll be amazed, how our people avoided the conflict.
And could you elaborate a bit more on the discrimination you were talking about?
Well, I'll give you a couple examples. You did not have the right to cremate your own people. The first cremation for a Sikh that occurred in Canada was out in the bush, out in the jungles. That's what they had to do. No crematorium in Canada would allow them to cremate their own. Secondly, their jobs were, they were not allowed to bring their families.
Okay.
And most of the people who worked out in the forest industries or in barns as laborers, actually, for the majority community, I would call it, rather than calling a different name. And that's what was happening. And when you even go deeper than that, even during the times when we came to Canada, we were not known as Sikhs.
Okay.
We were known as Pakis.
Okay.
And it was a Paki insignia that was attached to your name.
Wow.
And then from there, I think we graduated to being Hindus.
Oh.
So from being Hindus, then we graduated to being a Sikh. And that's who we were now.
Yeah. Took time, right?
It's a big time, and it's taken a lot of efforts by the people.
Yeah, for sure.
And people, even on the discriminatory aspect of it, when you look at Prime Minister, I think it was Prime Minister Mackenzie, we'll have to confirm, who even during those days decided to send Sikhs out of Canada.
Oh, okay.
He offered the Sikh delegation to go and visit Belize, this country called Belize now,
Right.
Honduras it was known as during those days, under British rule. That might be more appropriate country for you guys to go and settle.
Okay.
So our delegation, the Sikh delegation from here, went to Belize and viewed it, and I think they made the best decision, I would say, because I have gone and looked at Belize. I went in the 80s, and I just wanted to go and see what my forefathers had decided and why did they decide.
Right.
So I traveled through Belize and looked at it. I said, oh my God, I'm glad they made a decision what they did. So they came back. They said, no, we can't be bought. Sorry, we are British citizens.
Right.
And so we have the right to stay here.
Yeah.
You can't kick us out.
Right. And what was Belize like going there?
Oh, Belize, you can have actually mosquitoes, same as Punjab.
Yeah.
You could have sugarcane, same as Punjab.
Right.
But it's a very poor, underdeveloped country. And it's a small country. And even in 1986, when I went there, I went in with the intention of establishing a business there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I had a business here.
Okay.
And I thought I'll go and look at that country too, because they were offering bit concessions on the tax end of it. So I went there and wanted to look at it, and sure enough, they were offering concessions.
Okay.
And saying that we'll give you a 15-year tax break if you come and start a business here. And we'll even give you forest licenses to run a lumber company.
Okay.
But condition is that you'll employ and train our workers, which is a very fair proposition. But
Yeah.
I didn't think that any of the Sikhs would want to go there. There was one Sikh family at that time. There was one Sikh family in that country.
Must be lonely.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, did your wedding happen in India then? Were you married in India?
Yes.
Or? Okay.
We were married actually when we were, no, don't laugh about it. We were teenagers, excuse me.
Okay.
We were teenagers in high school.
Okay.
I was 15 and a half years old, so was my wife. We were in that age group, and it wasn't our decision.
Oh, okay,
It
right.
was a decision not even by our parents, it was a decision by our grandparents.
Okay.
So that's who decided, and we were engaged, in fact, when I was in grade 3,
Wow.
an 8-year-old kid.
Okay.
I had no clue what engagement is all about. I still remember actually running around with my sister, who was older than me by 5 years, and distributing actually sweets. During those days, the sweets used to be gourd,
Right.
Yeah. Or sukkar, actually, that's what it used to be. You're distributing that, actually, running around with them. You say, what's the occasion? I said, I got engaged.
Oh. And how did your grandparents know about your wife?
I think people went by the status of families knowing each other through relatives and others. Her grandfather had gone back from Canada or the U.S.
Right.
My grandfather used to be in UK.
Okay.
So he had gone back from UK, and just before 1940, he went back in 1946.
Okay.
And our grandfather went back right at that moment, independence moment, when it started here in North America, and then moved on to India for India's independence. So he went in with that group of people. So the people knew in the region. So their village is Taliwal village, which is about 11, 12 kilometers away from ours.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Pretty
not that far away. So the people knew each other through relatives, and that's how they always arranged.
Right. And then how long did you and your wife live in India?
Well, we weren't allowed to live together, first of all, okay, after the marriage.
Okay.
So they were smart in that context.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So until we were really adults, actually,
Oh, okay,
adults,
okay.
18. So she joined our family 2.5 years after our marriage,
Okay.
and when I was going to go to the Air Force.
Mm.
That's when. So since then, I would say since 1960 when I joined the Air Force.
Hmm. And then what was your wife's name? Sorry.
Surinder Kaur.
Surinder Kaur. And what did she do? Did she work?
She's been a housewife all her life and raised beautiful kids.
Yeah.
Can't complain. She's the pillar.
Oh. And then, so when you went to the Air Force, did you leave your family or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Air Force. When you go for training, you go for you're not allowed to take families.
Okay.
And so I went in for administration. In fact, I went in for technical trainings, and by the time I reached the training school, that class had already started a day earlier.
Okay.
And so there were three of us basically faced with a decision whether to wait another 3 months for the next class to start or take an administration class. So we said, okay, we'll opt for administration. A kid, under 18, you're not going to go back home now after traveling 3 days on a train.
Yeah.
And no, we weren't allowed to take family. But shortly after I graduated from there, and then I took her with me, and then she and I have been together since that time. The only time we stayed apart maybe was there was an operational area in the war zone area. That when the Air Force is tasked with going to the conflict area, then you're not allowed to take your families with you. So, but we were still allowed to come back once or twice or 3 times a year.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
We have 4, 3 of our own, one we adopted.
Okay.
And we adopted 3 children that we have. The oldest one is a daughter. She's a psychologist.
Okay.
Runs her own practice here. The second one is a...
And what are their names too?
Kamaljeet Kaur.
Okay.
And the second one is a Supreme Court judge.
Okay.
Right here in Vancouver, in New Westminster.
Wow.
And the third one is my son, who has a PhD in computer science.
Wow.
And he runs his own artificial intelligence company.
Okay.
Out of Seattle right now, but he has... after graduating, he had become a professor for computer science in New York University.
Wow.
So he left that to start his own company. The fourth, his second daughter's name is Palvinder Kaur, the one that's a Supreme Court justice here.
Okay.
And Harjinder Singh is my other son, the son that's a computer scientist.
Right.
And the youngest one that we adopted, he was 11 years old when we adopted him.
Okay.
He didn't want to go past grade 12. I tried everything.
Yeah.
And so he stayed with me in business.
Okay.
And his name is Surjit Singh.
Okay, and were your children all born in India?
They were all born in India. The youngest, the oldest was 7 years old.
Okay.
And then the Supreme Court judge was a 4-year-old.
Okay.
And the son was just about under 2. And the one we adopted was also born in India.
Okay, and did you adopt him in India or?
No, we adopted him here.
Okay.
He was related to my wife, Sandhu, her nephew, who had come to visit this country and stay with his uncles and aunts. And they wanted to keep him. He wanted to stay.
Right.
But unfortunately, the financial situation was not as strong as that of mine. And so when I took him to see a lawyer, he said, no, they will not succeed adopting him. And so if you really want to keep the kid, adopt yourself.
Okay.
So I brought him back home from the law office and sat them down and sat his grandparents and his uncles and aunts, everybody. We said, hey guys, if we're going to adopt him, he becomes ours, not yours anymore.
Oh.
No, it's true. When you're going to adopt him, you're going to raise him like as your child.
Yeah, yeah.
And they agreed. We said, yep, he shifts right starting today. He'll visit you guys actually as any other kid who visits their Nanakis.
Right.
And from today on, we'll take him on. And we got it through. It wasn't a big hassle likely to adopt him.
Okay.
Took less than 3 months. I just walked into the court and judge says, Mr. and Mrs. Sandhu, you have a son. Thank you very much. Go home.
That's so sweet.
So,
and then when you came to Canada then, did you land in Vancouver? Or?
I did.
Okay.
I landed in Vancouver because we had our relatives here in Vancouver. Right. And my mother-in-law had come to receive us And,
At the
after landing and staying here for about a week,
Mm-hmm.
I went to, we took the flight to Williams Lake.
Okay.
And so you can imagine a couple of feet of knee-deep snow,
Right.
and landing in a small airport pretty much with one room.
Mm.
And I remember my car getting stuck. We didn't, my relatives didn't own a car. In fact, one of their friends did.
Mm.
And so they had come to, a couple of them had come to pick us up. So
Right.
I remember that, and struck with awe type of thing. Wow, you know, I've never seen the snow, despite my travels through the country, through India.
Yeah.
This was something very, very, very much actually new to me.
Mm. And what did you do in Williams Lake?
Well, after landing within a week, I was looking for work.
Mm-hmm.
And our family, my brother-in-law's friend, said, you know, hey, we have a function here, a political function actually, a reception for our MP in town.
Oh, okay.
How about going and joining us actually for the reception? I said, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And you can imagine this was a private function in a local radio station manager's backyard.
Okay.
And he basically, everybody's looked at me more so than looking at the MP because my turban stuck out.
Ah, okay.
So it's, and everyone wanted to know who I was.
Right.
And so then finally they decided, rather than talking individually to him, so that a radio station manager, his name was Bob Leckie, Bob said, why don't you just take 5 minutes and explain to us who you are?
Yeah.
How did you land in Williams Lake? Anyway, so I went on and gave him a bit of a background on me, and then also touched on, because our MP, Paul St. Pierre at that time from that region, had just returned from a trip to China.
Okay.
Okay, so he was talking about China, so I gave Chinese history lesson. I knew better than him because I was involved in 1962 war with China. I was involved with 1965 war with Pakistan. Okay, so I gave them a background on those kind of things, and they were so intrigued.
Yeah.
Arlene, it was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
You walk into a new country, all of a sudden you're taken in by a new group of people. Language was not a barrier for me.
Okay.
It was not. And so the radio station manager he said, why don't you come to the radio station tomorrow? We will jointly interview Paul St. Pierre, the member of parliament.
Right.
I said, Bob, I've never done that. He said, don't worry about it. You know better than I. He says about the China, and to ask relevant questions. Anyway, that exposed me to the community, outer community. I would say that was my startup in Williams Lake. Now, looking for work was a challenge.
Yeah.
This was a lumber town. Okay, labor's work.
Right.
I had never done that kind of work in my
Yeah.
lifetime. So I asked my brother-in-law, I said, why don't I go with you and talk to your supervisor and look for work? He said, yeah, hop in. They were going in one car, all cramped into a small car, actually.
Yeah.
So what he didn't tell me was how to dress up for looking for work in a lumber company.
Okay.
So what I did, I dressed up like I did in the Air Force. In a three-piece suit,
Oh.
and tie, and with a briefcase with all my degrees, diplomas, everything that I had in my hand.
Yeah.
And God hopped into the car. None of them said anything. So I reached a sawmill, and they dropped me there, and they just go to their work actually after dropping their lunch buckets in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
I said, what do I see? He said, oh, upstairs, he said. So I go upstairs and knock at the door to individuals, to gentlemen there, smoking cigars, puffing it out, the room was full of actually smoke, and I looked around, was also full of sawdust. And papers stacked on their desk, actually maybe 6 to 8 inches high there.
Yeah.
So I said, I've never seen an office like that in my lifetime.
Right.
So they said, yeah, what brings you here? I said, looking for work. So what kind of work? I said, any kind of work.
Yeah.
Even on green chain, not realizing that green chain is not for a suit and tie guy.
Yeah.
So I basically, and he said, let me shake your hand once more. The guy's name was Art Strand. He was the supervisor.
Okay. What was his name?
Art Strand.
Art.
And Art said, let me see
Okay.
Okay, anyway, I shook his hand, and he's smart. Basically, saying that, I don't think these hands have done any hard manual labor. I don't think you belong here.
Yeah.
You better go and look for work in our office.
Right.
That opens at 8 o'clock. I was a bit embarrassed, to be very honest.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to wait until the office to open. I was already turned down once,
Right.
so I walked back 5 kilometers, minus 30. My shoes were pretty much frozen actually, and at least I did have the gloves. Made it home, and my wife helped me to really untie my shoelaces by pouring hot water on it. And anyway, I got a small job actually in another company, piling lumber on a contract, 90 cents per 1,000 board feet.
And what was the name of this place?
Yeah, that name was company was called Merrill Wagner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the company that I looked for worked and turned me down was known as Lignum Limited.
Okay.
And so anyway, I started working. Then I thought, I better go and see, because I had run into manpower manager, David Diether was his name,
Okay.
in that reception. He had asked me, come drop by, we'll talk, chat about your work. So I went to his office, kept on, having a nice, good conversation. You know what I did, what my capacity would be to do, and he pulled in an application form. He says, "Yeah, I'll hire you as a counselor for the manpower department." And said, so I filled in the application, and obviously there was a column, when did I come to Canada?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. He says, I'm sorry, I totally forgot. Our prerequisite for federal job is 1 year.
Okay.
You have to be in Canada for 1 year.
I see.
So I'm sorry I can't hire you.
Right.
But I suggest you go to Vancouver
Okay.
and do some work there. Come back after a year. This job is yours whenever you want to come back. I said, no, Bob, you don't understand. I came here with family.
Right.
I live here
Yeah.
at no cost. So that's what our culture is. I'm supported for both boarding and lodging. I'm not going to go and start actually finding another place now and tell me what else can I do.
Right.
He basically looked around and then thought, do you know anything about first aiding? I said, yeah, we were all taught in the Air Force.
Right.
And he says, but here you have to be certified by Workers' Compensation Board. So I said, what do I do? He says, the classes are they're already running. They're into third week, and it's a 20-week program. And they're into third week. I don't know whether they'll take you or not,
Right.
but I will talk to the instructor. So he made a call right there. And he said, hey, there's a guy, I think he already knows something. Can you take him in, and we'll pay for his cost.
Okay.
So Government of Canada paid for my training cost of $50 at that time, with one condition that I had to sign in, as you asked me to sign something here, that if I fail, I pay them. If I pass, it's their investment in me.
I see.
I wasn't going to fail.
Yeah.
So I passed it, and in the meantime I was working. And I demand for a first aid attendant, industrial first aid attendant in that year, was so great, because there were new regulations passed by Government of Canada.
Right.
That every employer has to have one first aid attendant on every 10 or 11 employees. So this was the law.
Oh, okay.
Still is, I think, to this day. And so I was in demand. So one day I come from that manual labor I was doing out there in another plant, come home. I'm surprised to see the same four-man Art Strand sitting with my brother-in-law at home at my place. And I said, Art, what brings you here? He said, I'm here to hire you. I said, no, I'm not going to work for you.
Okay.
He says, why not? I said, I just don't want to work for you. Simple. You turned me down. I'm working for another company right now. So why would I leave them?
Right.
They're good to me. They're paying me exactly what I want to get paid. And so he left. And a week later brings his manager with him.
Okay.
Yeah, Walter was his name. Walter was the HR manager, human resources manager.
Yeah.
Comes in, two of them now sitting with my brother-in-law at home.
Wow.
So anyway, they introduced, and Walter introduced himself. Walter said, I came, Gian, to find out, tell me, why do you not want to join our company?
Right.
I want to know the reasons. I said, I want this guy's job, Art Strand's job.
Okay.
You want to hire me? Hire me as a supervisor.
Okay.
And he said, but you have no experience. I said, What do you mean I don't have any experience? I have a lot of management experience. I was trained in the Air Force.
Yeah.
I manage people.
Right.
I'm managing people, whether I manage in the Air Force, I manage in a sawmill. It shouldn't be any different. It's people management skills.
Right.
So anyway, he didn't make a decision. They went back. Then they must have talked about it.
Yeah.
And then next day he calls me. He said, would you come and see us in the office, please? So I went in there anyway. So they offered me a job.
Okay.
And they said, we will start you as a working foreman. It was a new clause they created.
Okay.
I said, what is this
For you.
new for me? So what is this working foreman?
Right.
He said, the issue is you have no experience. If we employ you as a full-fledged supervisor, the union would not let you do anything, touch any machinery, or learn anything. So you'll be stuck with just supervising. But if we designate you as a working foreman, that allows you to really touch the machinery, work on it, get on it. They can't stop you because you will be contributing to the unions for that length of time as long as we keep you in that category, but you'll still be a supervisor.
Yeah.
I said, okay. So guess what? They didn't fire that Art Strand, but they fired another supervisor
Okay.
and replaced me with him. And that was a Caucasian young, I would call, I mean, we are part of Caucasians as well.
Right, right.
So it was a white guy,
Yeah.
to put in that crude terminology. So that's how I started with them, but I grew up very fast there. It wasn't going to hold me down anything. I became their controller. I became a committee manager for the finance and administrations and everything else I did, but that was also not by accident, it was by plan.
Right.
I was always aggressive and always wanted to do better than my peers.
Okay.
And they had, the company was having a lot of financial problems, and they asked me to change the department from the sawmill, go to the planer mill.
Okay.
And so they'd take the night shift there. So I went there, and what I did while I was there, I analyzed the whole thing. I wrote a report on my own without someone asking for it.
Okay.
I did the analysis of that total plant in that area. I said, look guys, I should be your superintendent actually for the plant.
Yeah.
Because I can make you money, and this is how I can make you money.
Yeah.
And the manager saw that, and he called me and he said, I hadn't seen your resume, he was new. He says, now when I see your report, I see the merits behind it. I don't want you to be in the production end of it, so I want you to be in the office. Come and work in the office, take over the office management, take over the purchasing management, and look after that, but you have the expertise in that.
That's awesome.
I said, no, I don't want it.
Okay.
So I even turned that down, and they wouldn't give up, you know.
Right.
He said, no, you have to give me a reason. I said, country I come from, the operational technical jobs pay more
Okay.
than the administration and finance jobs.
Right.
He says, how much do you make right now? I was making $825 per month,
Okay.
a salary at that time as a supervisor.
Okay.
He says, come to the office tomorrow morning, I'll pay you $925.
Okay.
And you will never have to really ask me for a raise if what I think you are capable of doing. Your raises will be looked after automatically.
Okay.
And guess what? That's what happened. So I grew up in that company, becoming a second in command for the company. And I left after 10 years when I wanted to be number one and they promoted somebody else.
Oh, okay. And were you the only man with the turban working at that?
I had, by the way, I had to take my turban off in between. I should tell you that story. What a sad story that is.
Yeah.
That story was pretty much a gut-wrenching story. You know, when I was working for another company, not this one.
Which one was that?
That Merrill Wagner.
Merrill, okay.
The supervisor would pass by me as I was working outside in the yard. If you didn't have a turban, we would promote you as a lead hand or a supervisor. So I think I became weak. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And thinking that, you know, if I can grow in the management end of it and give up my turban, so I write Queen, Elizabeth was visiting my town that day,
Oh, okay.
and I walk into a barber shop
Mm-hmm.
and come out crying actually, after taking my turban and hairs off. And, but yes, they were good to their words, promoted me, and but that was going to satisfy me. So 10 years later, when I basically was determined that I had to change, and that too was a very classic way how someone from non-Sikh community almost told me that I was a phony guy.
Yeah.
It so happened that we had built a Gurdwara in the meantime, and I was the president for the Gurdwara.
Okay, which Gurdwara was
It was called Guru Nanak Sikh Temple at that time. It still calls it Nanak Sikh Temple. So we had that Gurdwara was built. I was the president.
Mm-hmm.
They this was a Baisakhi. My way of handling in a Gurdwara is that when non-Sikhs are sitting there, the address will be in English. So
Right.
I would be, I had lots of friends actually from the non-Sikh community, and including cities mayors and everybody else were sitting there. So I gave a lecture on 5 articles of faith for a Sikh on Baisakhi.
Right.
That's the appropriate lecture to give.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend actually and his wife with kids were sitting at non-Sikh guy, John Boss.
Mm-hmm.
He was sitting in the audience and the Sangat there, and as soon as I was done speaking, and he grabbed me by the arm and took me out of the Gurdwara. He says, and looked me from top to bottom. He says, Gian, if I had my eyes closed, I was so impressed and persuaded actually by your thought process and the significance of your articles of faith. But he said, as you were explaining, I kept on looking at you. I know you wore turban actually today because you come to Gurdwara. I said, you don't wear turban regularly.
Right.
He said, I see your kara all the time, but I don't see your kirpan.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you wear your shorts or not. I have no idea. I said, but what a phony you are.
Okay.
I could have easily offered dozens of excuses that I was always offering at home because my wife and kids were Amritaris. And I could have, but I didn't. I said, John, you're right.
Okay.
I mean, even the things that always kept me away was that I was also teaching as a part-time instructor at the college. I was teaching.
Okay.
Yeah, at Caribou College.
What were you teaching?
I was teaching business management and purchasing courses,
Okay.
as well as industrial first aid courses through the college.
Oh.
And so most of my students were all white students.
Right, right.
And I was always thinking that bit of a fear in the back of my mind, how will they perceive me with
Right.
a turban?
Yeah.
And but I promised John, I said, starting next week, my friend, when you come to the Gurdwara, I'll be an Amritari Sikh. I will not speak at the Gurdwara podium without being an Amritari. And by the way, I think I have repeated that story in many Gurdwaras over and over, especially if I find someone non-Amritari running a Gurdwara.
Yeah. That's a great
Yeah,
story,
and
though.
I had to really say that, hey guys, you do and walk the talk, in other words.
Right.
Don't just make a statement.
Right.
If you
That's
don't
so true.
practice, why do you teach me?
Yeah.
How am I going to learn? How are kids going to learn?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's how that brought me back into the fold of Sikhi again, and became a Bratari.
And then where did you go after those 10 years working?
I started my own company.
Okay.
My company was named as Khalsa Enterprises.
Okay. In Williams?
In Williams Lake. It was a lumber company. I bought a small little company because that company had promoted me to run another small sawmill, which I was not very happy. This was a rundown operation, and
Right.
they wanted it to be shut down. And I was traveling back and forth, and then I ran into a small guy who was running a very small 5-6 employees company. So I decided to buy him out in town.
Yeah.
And I bought him actually for $425,000 at that time.
Okay. Wow.
And anyway, we ran that for almost 7 years. But then, being a small guy, and it grew from 5 employees to 73 employees.
Wow.
Yeah, and,
Under your reign.
Yeah, in that time span. But to compete with large corporations, I didn't have the financing to do it.
Right.
So they were always actually, competing against me on forest licenses. So then the market, lumber market, is also a very volatile market. Yeah, it goes up and goes down, and it goes in spurts.
Okay.
And if you're caught up actually in the downturn, you will lose. And so in '87, when I was market had dropped, and so we were really having a challenge. So the mistake I had also made was that I was with one of the major five banks. The interest rates, think about it, you will probably not read or have heard, interest rates had climbed up to 22% at that time in Canada. So a business borrowing at 22% and losing money was a big challenge. So my banker said, you got to put some more money. I said, okay, I will. A couple of my friends, we talked about it. They formed venture capital companies, which there was a tax break for them. They could get 45% tax break right away by investing into a company that was having was struggling actually financially at that time. So anyway, we got them. Our agreement was all signed. The VCCs, venture capital corporations, were approved by the provincial government, but there was a time lag. They were going to put the money in by December 31st. And here comes November, my bank is sold. This was a small bank that had changed from 22% wanting to save and trust. It was a small bank that had come up with the lower interest rates, 15%. So I had changed them, not realizing that these small banks are volatile themselves. So when their clients are losing money, they're losing themselves. And they were sold, and the company that bought them, bank that bought them, told them to get rid of all the accounts and that are losing. So we don't want to take over those accounts. So mine was one of them. So I was basically shut down by the bank. I lost pretty much everything. Reached a stage of actually came year close to the personal financial disaster. So anyway, I basically decided, but I was right legally as soon as they did that. And to me, I just went and hired the top-notch lawyer here in town, Vancouver. And we walked into the bank's office next day to see their president and the vice president who was in charge of my account. Telling them, you guys have done a mistake, shouldn't have done that, because here's the agreement we had. And but issue was the Canadian legislation on shutting banks, actually imposing their wish actually to shut companies down was not protecting the businessmen, actually was more protecting the banks, which has been changed since. Okay, so anyway, my lawyer told them, hey guys, you made a mistake, he reserves the right to sue you. And so they must have thought for a day or so. Next day they called my lawyer and said, come and talk to us. And we went back, and so the president said, what do you want? How do we come to an agreement? I said, I want my company back. He said, okay, pay all the debt that's on the company. I said, no, I don't pay you all the debt now. You shut me down, you take the loss, and I'll pay you what I think now I should pay. So I offered them a price for the company, and they didn't have a choice. So sold me. And my investors came on board with me at that time, so because that money was still available to me. It was, so that's how we restarted a company called Jack Pine Forest Products. And Jack Pine Forest Products actually grew leaps and bounds, to be very honest. It grew to be number 12 in British Columbia. And we were employing 300 employees, over 100 million in sales. And we were the 17th larger Canadian exporter to the U.S. So that was our number there.
And how many years did you run that for?
Oh, I ran it until 2008.
And what year did it start?
It started actually in 87.
87,
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, and it ran until 2008. We built two more companies after that as part of our group. So we renamed, our company was then renamed as Jack Pine Group of Companies. And so we had in engineering engineered products, 60-foot long, that nobody was doing in Canada actually for the market. I pretty much actually grabbed 50% of U.S. market in that particular product.
Wow.
So if 2008 disaster, financial disaster,
Right, yeah.
had not happened, the banks had not melted down,
Mm-hmm.
I would still be running those companies.
Okay.
And so my bankers were both U.S. at that time, and operating bank was U.S. That was bailed out by Obama,
Oh. Okay.
and my capital bank was also U.S. based,
Okay.
and that was bailed out by Warren Buffett.
Okay.
So we sat together. We all three decided that they said I was going to build a fourth company. Actually, in fact, I already approved and design was all done. They said, "You're on your own, friends. We're losing money. We can't put any money in. So if you want to put your own money, go for it." I did not want to honestly put any more money. I had already lost that year $13 million.
Right.
And we decided that, no, if I was 10 years younger, I'll do it. There was no hope, so we mutually all agreed to shut it down.
Right.
And so took our losses, and so I still stayed with them consulting actually to dispose of the sell the mill.
And then what did you do after that?
I went into management consulting.
Management consulting.
So
Okay.
that was my background,
Right,
and
yeah.
I had also, I established my management consulting company right away.
Okay. And during this time, which city were you in?
I was still in Williams Lake, but my
Okay.
marketing office was always here.
Oh, in
Marketing office was in Burnaby initially.
Burnaby, okay.
Then I had moved it to White Rock.
Okay.
So we were in White Rock for a long, long time with my marketing staff.
Okay. But you still stayed in.
I stayed in Williams Lake was my base, home base.
Oh, okay.
But I was traveling
I see.
pretty much actually twice a week to
Wow.
here or on the road actually elsewhere.
Okay.
You know, we had offices in here. We had office actually in Atlanta. And we had office in Washington.
Yeah.
We also had an office in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, we had expanded extensively, doing some of these specialty products that other people were not doing. So I have decided and determined definitely that I'm not going to compete with mass production of large corporations.
Right.
I would really change from that to a value-added product.
Yeah.
So that changing it to value-added product from a sawmill really got me a window that I was able to open and then grow from there.
That's awesome. And so your children, did they go to school in Williams
They
Lake?
all went to school in Williams Lake. They all graduated from grade 12 here, there, and then all of them came to UBC.
Wow.
Yeah, so their undergrads were all from UBC.
Okay.
And my oldest, Kamaljeet Kaur, actually the psychologist, finished her PhD at UBC.
Wow.
And the second one went to law school in Saskatoon.
Okay.
And so she finished her law degree from Saskatoon and went into practice. And so she practiced law before for 26 years almost before she was appointed as a judge. And Harjinder, our son, finished his undergrad here and went on a scholarship to U of T.
Okay.
And finished his master's there, finished his PhD there in computer science.
Right.
And then joined York University as an associate professor there.
Awesome.
So he taught for 5 years.
So what was it like for your children then? Because were they the only like Punjabi family in Williams Lake?
No, the
or-
Williams Lake had grown.
Okay.
From the time when we went in, Williams Lake had about 26 families.
Okay.
And from the time in the 80s, the Williams Lake had become probably the largest per capita Sikh population in Canada.
Okay.
We had close to about 400 plus families there at that time.
Okay.
And sure enough, but Amritari, yes,
Yeah.
going to high school at that time, you can
Yeah.
imagine. Did they face any challenges? Obviously they did.
Right. What type of challenges did
Well, that taunting, kids throwing
okay.
rocks at them as they were walking to school in the initial years.
Yeah.
And even in high school, my older daughter actually one day comes home with a broken tooth.
Really?
I said, "What happened, honey?" And she didn't tell me for a long time, but then she finally opened up. She says, it's one of the white kids that pushed me against the locker. And anyway, that's how all happened. Other kids faced similar things, but I just, it is part of life as you're growing. You felt many times that you were going to really outdo them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I tell our South Asian kids. I will tell, hey, you have to be twice as much prepared
Right.
than your associates or friends growing up or from a white
Yeah.
background.
Hmm.
So that was the emphasis we laid on the kids, and they went on with it.
Awesome. And what about you personally? Did you ever experience any discrimination or racism?
It does. It is, but I never took it personally.
Okay.
Oh no, I would face it head on. To be
Like
very
in
honest.
what ways?
In what, for example, even on the employment aspect of it. You know, mind you, I got into supervision, so I had a different role, to be very honest. But I could see a bit of a discriminatory approach by our own employers against other Punjabi kids, or Punjabi employees, or even addressing them. The very first time when I became a supervisor, especially in the administration end of it, I walked into the senior management meeting, and one of the senior managers, said, "Oh, these Hindus." I said, hold it, guys.
Okay.
Hold it. There's no Hindus working here for you.
Right.
All of them are Sikhs, first of all. Secondly, I would not tolerate, if I want to sit in this meeting,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tolerate someone actually, calling names.
So,
And, these kind of derogatory things, when you look at even in the lumbering company itself, certain jobs or certain tools were named as Hindus.
oh.
And they called Hindu a lot tongue actually, to pull it off. And these kind of things, they ultimately stopped. I mean, so I would have seen some approaches, but I never really felt personally that I was going to be actually pushed aside for anything. Because I was always more aggressive to find a way. How do I get ahead?
Oh, okay. Hard work.
Hard work actually. I mean, even when I was promoted as the office manager and the purchasing guy actually for that company, the other senior superintendents and managers in the company did not want me there.
Oh.
Because my authority was much bigger than them. I could limit their buying powers.
Right.
I could tell them, no, this is how much you are authorized to spend. Why are you spending more?
Yeah.
And I remember issuing a policy letter, which was tough in hindsight when I go back and really review that now. I say that that was more of a Air Force type of a letter.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What was in the letter?
You're directing your juniors what to do. Rather than asking your peers to cooperate and do all that anyway.
Right.
So, and they would make my life really miserable so that I don't succeed in that job. For example, if I suggested that, hey, how this is the way we can save some money for your department here and a little bit of the company bottom line, they'll say, no, how do you know that this machine is going to take these parts? How would you know that? So I finally decided quietly on my own. I said, after hours, I'll go to the plant and I'll pick up a technical book for each machine. Just go and stand by the machine, how it operated, looked at everything else. In fact, made my own notes, not even what the book said, but in addition, how I could improve certain things. So I made all that. So in about 3 to 4 months, I had the technical knowledge about that book, exactly what I wanted to see.
Right.
So now I was telling them, every time they wanted something, I said, you can use a substitute. What do you mean? Yes, I'll tell you can use a substitute. This is how it'll work. This is how it'll save you. This is how it'll improve our efficiencies.
Yeah.
This is how it'll give us a better bottom line. And so anyway, those kinds of things were there.
Awesome. And then, did you move over to Surrey, or what happened after?
No. In fact, my life was not just business. My life was also social service, community service. I have been very deeply involved actually with the community.
Okay.
Not only at Gurdwara levels. I just gave up the Gurdwara participation in management in 1981. Basically, that was the last time I ever served on a Gurdwara committee.
Right.
But at that time, there was a.
Was this the one in Williams Lake?
Yeah, still in Williams Lake. And so there was a national organization formed for the Sikhs called Federation of Sikh Societies. I worked with them actually in 81 and 82 with the political turmoil taking place in Punjab. There was a Morcha action committee formed here. You had an Abbotsford guy, Mr. Sandhu, as the president for that organization. I was the vice president. Dr. Colonel Pundi was also Abbotsford based at that time. He was the secretary. So we formed a provincial organization to really connect with people, what was going on, and find out how we could help them. So that connected me with the players in both religious and political aspect of it. And I was regularly in touch with Sant Longowal, who was the head of the Akali Dal at that time and head of the agitations against the government of India. And also I was regularly in touch with Singh Bidramwala. So that brought me into the focus actually on the national scene. And when attack happened on Darbar Sahib, and June of 1984, the Sikhs got together and established an international organization called World Sikh Organization. Okay, so I became the president for the national branch. Sorry, turn it off. Sorry. So anyway, I was basically vested with the authority. I was called by the Sangat to lead them. So that took a lot of time to establish an organization. It's not easy, and I was living in Williams Lake, and I've established a national organization. So I had close to about 1,300 volunteers working all through Canada, and to coordinate them. And I was traveling a lot, visiting different places. I would leave on Friday, come back on Monday. So 3 days in the office, 4 days on the road. That's what took me around, and so that organization still exists today. So after 35 years, we must have done something right.
For sure.
Of course, a lot of other organizations came up, and among Sikhs, if an organization can survive 5-7 years, you'll say you're lucky. Because we end up actually really defranchising it one way or another, and breaking it up either because of personal aspirations of leading it. Big thing that I set in that organization was that no one can be a president for more than 4 years. Which was different. And some people walked out at the time of founding that because we didn't want that. And I said it has to be volunteer. Work, not paid.
The president role.
For president. The president has to be
awesome.
volunteer. No pay. People argued that they wanted $100,000 at that time to be the president. I said we'll have a fight on our hands every day. So everybody wants to have a $100,000 job. So anyway, those kind of criteria I think set this organization apart. Plus, our decision was to be diplomatic in our approach, rather than aggressive actually like other organizations in their face. We were diplomatically in their face, Arlene, and not shying away, because that allowed us an opportunity to meet with people in authority, whether governments of here, there, or anywhere in the world. We were at least welcome to meet with them. Though that they try to actually stop us later on, but that's fine. That happens because you're facing a government rather than you're facing individuals. So the organization has done super good. It wasn't that easy, I'll tell you.
What difficulties did you face as the president?
Let me give you 2 or maybe 3 examples out of that. One is that on a diplomatic channels, I just visualize that there are 5 of us, 1 non-Sikh lawyer from the U.S., 4 Sikhs, on a lobby effort in Geneva to make a presentation to the UN on the Sikh plight and difficulties, the challenges we were facing. One day, on the day of presentations, as we walk out of our hotel room, international police comes with the badges, stops us.
Scary.
They said, no, folks, you can't go. So we're pretty much house arrest there. And they wanted to go and search it. There were 4 of them. And 2 of them actually stayed with us in the lobby, hotel lobby. And the other 2 went to search our rooms. And And so they spent an hour and a half searching our rooms.
And why? Why did they search?
That's what I wanted to know.
Uh-huh.
When they came downstairs from the hotel room, they were just smiling. Came down and apologized, folks, we're sorry.
Right.
We detained you, you can go now. I said, no, I'm not going to go.
Hmm.
Tell me the reason.
Yeah.
And they looked at each other. They said, you know Gurdal Singh Dhillon? We said, yes, we know him. He was the Indian High Commissioner to Canada.
Oh, okay.
And he's now here as the head of the UN ambassador directly there, the head of the Indian delegation.
Okay.
He says he has lodged a complaint against you that you are here to assassinate him.
Wow.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
So I said, so what did you find? He said, nothing. They said, you guys can go.
Hmm.
Anyway, we go, our time slot was gone.
Oh, okay.
That was their focus.
Right. Oh, I see. Okay. Why though? Like.
No country wants any group of people
Hmm.
to really tell to the United Nations body on a face-to-face discussions what challenges their community is facing in that country.
Because isn't he a Sikh himself, Gurdal Singh? And he, okay.
And I'll tell you how it happened. So we show up late. There was a table already set up for us on the side. So we put our material that we was going to present on the table, so that we'll pass it on to the ambassadors once there's a lunch break now.
Right.
At lunch break, guess what? Mr. Dhillon played another game on us, or his handlers did. So he, instead of walking out the door where other ambassadors were walking out, head of missions were walking out of the UN assembly, he came towards us,
Okay.
thinking that we will now, because of what has gone on, would probably be abusive and say something, and he can easily now prove his point.
Oh, okay.
So as we saw him walking with his assistant, actually, his name was Mr. Sarkar. And so the two of them walking towards us, we just caucused ourselves. We said, hey folks, this is the time to really show diplomacy.
Right.
And so as he came close, we opened our arms and hugged him.
Okay. Wow.
So, and we hugged him one by one, as I did. I quietly asked him in his ear, I said, Mr. Dhillon, why did you have to do that? He said, first of all, let me tell you, you guys are doing an excellent job, continue doing it.
Wow.
Secondly, and he said, I'm born and raised in a Congress party. It's their blood that goes through my veins here. So I do what they tell me. Okay, so, but that incident was not going to go quietly. Our Canadian head of the mission was Gordon Fairweather. That's his name. Poor soul is no longer with us. He's a friend. He was watching, and with other ambassadors standing there. As soon as Dhillon was gone, he walks over to me. He says, Gian, you made me so proud today.
Aww.
He says, this guy has been telling us since the day you landed here that you're here to assassinate him, and I kept on telling my other friends here that no, our people are not here for that.
Right.
They are here actually to make a presentation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's one. Now, like, sometime Arlene to really save your community's skin. You got to go out and bear the blunt of some of the issues on yourself. It happened to me. The disaster and horrendous, actually, blow up of an Air India flight in 1985, which albatross still hangs around our neck here. Every Sikh was a suspect, particularly a Sikh who had a turban, which I had. And I was head of the World Sikh Organization. And it was new at that time because everybody out there all Sikhs have gotten together, have formed an international organization, because that's how it was. That every other smaller organization now are subservient to this international organization. So the blame was coming on the World Sikh Organization that they were responsible. Well, they were suspecting Baba Khalsa and others, but they were basically pointing out to World Sikh Organization as well. So I don't know how many times I was interviewed. He kept on saying, guys, come on, understand that. This organization is a diplomatic human rights organization.
Right.
This is the work we do. You look at the work, this is what we do. And then suddenly one day, one RCMP inspector said, would you be willing to undergo a lie detector test?
Okay.
What should I say?
Sure.
Yeah, a lawyer would tell you, don't do that,
Okay.
because sometimes they're not reliable.
Right, yeah.
And my gut told me, if this is the only way I can save the skin of this organization, and I will do it. I said, yeah, why not?
Okay.
So that was one of the things that I had to undergo a lie detector test actually with the RCMP. And I outlined that in details, in fact, in my book.
Okay.
So guess what? Through the John Major inquiry, there was a witness from the police department from Vancouver. He said that when he was being questioned and cross-examined for the Air India investigation, he said, we set up 3 desks in Vancouver for investigation. One for Baba Khalsa,
Right.
one for International Sexual Federation, the other one for the World Sikh Organization. He said, but after a couple of years, we closed the World Sikh Organization desk.
Okay.
This was the time after I went through the
Lie.
lie detector test.
Wow.
They had understood that this organization was not a suspect.
Okay. So that saved it.
That saved the organization because other 2 organizations are banned.
Wow.
To this day they are.
Okay. That's so interesting.
There was no other organization left if we had done something wrong to really protect the Sikh interest. And those 2 examples alone will shake up to your core, basically, and my kids didn't even know that.
Okay.
And there was another incident. Actually, I had come back after making a presentation to our external affairs in Ottawa. This is right after the attack. And I had photographs. In fact, we had smuggled, let's put it this way, 20 photographs from Punjab after the attack on Golden Temple, and those are available right now on the internet. Everybody looks at them. They were originally smuggled by us. We had to pay for it. Got it out, and had those slides prepared for that. And during those days, slides were not the ones that we use these days. They used to be tiny little slides, a different thing, presentations. So I'd come after presenting that to the external affairs, but external affairs had involved an individual that I suspected will report to Government of India. So as I walked back, and there's an urgent message, my secretary said, Gian, RCMP was here. They want to see you urgently, right now, pronto, as soon as you walk in. So I knew the officer's name that she gave me, so I called him. I said, hey, I'm back. So 2 of them come to my office. They said, well, how was the trip? I said, pretty good. Says, you're going to go to the Vaisakhi Nagar Kirtan this time? I said, yeah. Why do you ask?
Yeah.
He said, we suggest you don't go. I said, why? He said, there's a contract on your assassination.
Wow.
We intercepted a call.
Wow.
So I said, now I have to go.
Oh.
I really have to go now. I said, I'm not going to be shut down.
Yeah.
I cannot lock myself actually behind a closed door and sit there and watch what's going on for my community. No, I will go to the Nagar Kirtan.
Okay.
And they said, well, we still have to protect you. So they said, as soon as you reach Vancouver, here's the number to call. We'll assign some officers to walk with you in civil clothes through the Nagar Kirtan.
Right.
So it's 4 or 5 hours. That time there used to be only one Nagar Kirtan. So starting from Ross Street, going through the main and coming back usually there again.
Hmm.
So I walked through the Nagar Kirtan
Right.
with my open eyes, thinking that, who had their hands in the pocket. So I think those three examples will probably give you enough
Yeah.
material to know the challenges. I don't think anyone has gone as bigger challenges.
It's a big role, right?
Well, that's what you do. I don't think, sometimes I do feel that as if our younger generation does not realize the sacrifices that it takes to really establish a successful organization
For sure.
and what you have to go through, both financially and personally.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not one individual, it was a group of like-minded people.
Yeah.
It's several thousand people I would call. I wasn't a special guy myself. There were other people I couldn't have done myself. Certainly, sure, I was president for the first 4 years, because that's how I established it. Then I went back and became an advisor, and to this day I stay as an advisor.
Okay, you're still
All
in
of us, all of us actually that have served the organization in that capacity, they come out, they stay as advisors.
Okay.
So we all fulfill an advisory role and bring in a new generation. So currently, our new generation is. We have 31 directors on nationally, for example, for the organizations covering British Columbia to the Atlantic regions, and out of the 31 right now, 80% are Canadian born and raised here.
Wow.
And our current president, whose 4-year term ends actually in October, and is also Canadian, Montreal born, raised, fluent in all 3 languages.
That's awesome.
So. He's a young guy. I think he's just gone past 30 right now. So, so you can imagine. And we have also brought in a change in the psyche of Sikh community, how to run organization, by bringing women into it.
That's awesome.
Okay, so we have 50% women in it.
Okay.
It's not a Trudeau thing actually of 2050.
Yeah.
It's a World Sikh organization thing.
Wow.
And we don't rely upon government funding. That's another part.
Okay.
This is a self-funded organization. And I used to tell the Reform Party when they were advocating no funding by the government actually for their elections and all that, now they are still taking it.
Yeah.
They changed it. I used to tell them, this is my philosophy, guys, when I met with them. We have been saying it for so long. We don't need your funds. In fact, they offered us.
Okay.
Arlene, there was a big challenge in between. Another one was the government of India succeeded in persuading our External Affairs Minister, Joe Clark, to somehow shut us down. Okay, and government did try, by the way. Government actually paid 30,000 plus. I think it's 137, if I'm not mistaken, to establish another organization against us.
Wow. What was that organization?
It was called actually. I'll have to look for the proper name. I think it's in my book, but in the book, I think it was in. And they did establish that. But it wasn't going to succeed, I told them. I said, by paying money and propping up an organization against us who are volunteers,
Right.
you will never succeed.
Right. That's so true.
Volunteers are volunteers.
Yeah.
Hey, we put our heart and soul into it. And with all the money, I remember people within the organizations who were having financial difficulty, but they were still contributing to run this organization.
Awesome.
I remember a guy actually, within the organization who mortgaged his house once when we ran short of funds.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, this is passion of service to the community. Anyway, so with that, Joe Clark had issued a letter to 7 premiers where the Sikh population was significantly living in Canada not to associate with us. I wasn't going to tolerate it. In fact, it happened in 87, I think it was, 87 letter. And but the letter didn't come to forefront until 88, when we were going to have a banquet in Winnipeg. And in that banquet, our guest speaker was supposed to be the premier of the province.
Okay.
Plus,
which province was that?
Manitoba.
Right.
Yeah, Howard Polley was the premier at that time.
Okay.
Okay, and he was supposed to be our guest speaker for that, and plus other cabinet ministers with him, and he didn't show up.
Okay.
And then I started asking, and our people there had found out, earlier day, and they were afraid of telling me. How do we tell them now? We don't have the guest speaker coming in. But they were doing the work in the background, so they had gone back and walked back into the legislative building to find out reasons, and somehow they got access to a secret letter issued by the External Affairs Minister, not to associate with 3 organizations, and one secret organization was part of that. So I quietly, we strategized, and we met quietly with the Globe and Mail in Toronto and CBC. We said, we're not going to show you the letter, you dig out the letter yourself, this is what it is, and prompted the opposition party.
Right.
If there's any debate that has taken about Sikh issues in Canada, it's March 10th, 1988, in the House of Commons, 6 hours. So as history students, social studies students, sometime if you get your hands on March 10th, 1988 debate about the Sikh issues in Canada.
Okay.
Look for it and listen to it.
Yeah.
If you don't get a copy, I'll give you one.
Okay. I'll look for it.
Okay, so where the issues came to the forefront. I mean, we've been actually working from every angle to really get the issues actually on the forefront. Our concern is human rights.
Right.
This has been a focus of this organization, diplomacy, and how we really get things done. And in that context, we don't only work for the Sikh community, we also work for other communities.
Yeah.
And that's what set us apart.
Yeah.
For example, when the LGBTQ rights issue came up, we were up supporting them.
Okay.
Our Gurdwaras, but they especially some, not all, some, they were totally opposing us.
Yeah.
Okay? And did it matter to us? We looked at the Sikhi. We said, what would Guru Nanak do today?
Right.
That's what we felt. If that constitution has given me the right to wear my articles of faith, and including Kirpan and all that, who am I to stop and tell these people that they can't be who they are?
Yeah.
I'm not here to stop it. I'm not here to promote it either. That's their individual beliefs, whatever they want to. But from a belief aspect of it, my Sikh tells me to not be an impediment for their benefits.
Wow.
And we took that stance, and we had death threats. Our lawyer had a death threat. Our president at that time had a death threat. I had it. I was stopped from speaking in one Gurdwara, very point blank. They told me, you can't speak in our Gurdwara because you supported that. People within the organization actually had some concerns as well, but we had discussed it very elaborately to come up with that decisions. And we lost some membership, but we gained some.
Right.
We gained youth.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we gained a lot of youth at that time.
And what year was this?
This would be 10 years ago, roughly.
Oh, okay. So you started supporting back then. Wow.
Oh, no. Yeah, right when the legislation went through, I have to look for the date.
Oh, okay.
Honest, so, it'll be even 12. It was Paul Martin was the prime minister at that time, so it'll be 12. It'll be almost 14, 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the legislation went through.
Maybe longer too.
Yeah, when the legislation went through, I think it was 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But I'll have to look for the date.
Right.
And so we were spared. I mean, we were even in the parliamentary committee hearings. We were there supporting.
That's awesome.
Oh, absolutely. We didn't shy away from that. And that's not it. We took a stand. For example, we've taken Canadian history. When you look at in the Supreme Court of Canada, there have been maybe 6 human rights cases that have gone up there for decision at the Supreme Court. Out of those 6, 5 of them we have participated in and helped other communities as well to win as an intervener. And for example, our right to wear kirpan in schools was granted by the Supreme Court of Canada with Multani case. Okay, Gurpai Singh Multani, a young fellow from a student from Montreal. An issue actually and another issue that had come up in Montreal. Most of those actually cases have happened. The last couple, one in BC, by the way, has happened as well, and one in Alberta, but the others have in Quebec. The other case was of a Jewish community Jewish community's case was more related to their sukkah hut. I don't know if you know what sukkah hut is. Okay, so sukkah hut is the more religiously in tune, practicing Jewish population. Every year builds a small hut out of leaves and tree branches outside of their house, where they actually spend a week meditating and even wining, dining, and even some of them sleep there.
Okay.
Okay, and and they build that hut, and that hut is called sukkah hut. Okay,
Okay.
and what this family, a Jewish family in Montreal, had done is built a little hut on their balcony in the apartment complex. There were actually 4 of them that did that. And so the apartment owners, complex, they said, no, you can't do that.
Right.
But they also knew that the Canadian law says, you know, they have to have a reasonable accommodation. They were smart in that aspect. What they suggested, they suggested to these 4 families, how about we build one actually in the middle there, in the courtyard there, basically, that you can all use it. And because that's what the experts tell us, they said. And they had Jewish experts telling them.
Okay.
Okay, and so we basically, the family that felt grieved, they said, no, we don't want to do that.
Right.
So they filed a lawsuit. They lost. They appealed, they lost. Then they approached us. They said, you know, hey, WSO, you guys have better knowledge on the human rights law, help us.
Okay.
So we intervened. And the stance our legal counsel took was a fantastic angle. That was an angle we said, how can an expert tell a faith practitioner what his or her faith is?
Yeah.
It's all individual. I can't come out and tell Herleen that your faith in Sikhi is at a certain level, that you are not a Sikh.
Right.
I can't tell your mom or your anybody else.
Yeah.
Nobody can come and tell me.
That's so true.
So we took that angle that these experts have no right to intervene,
Yeah.
despite the fact that we were using experts ourselves in the past, you know, to fight our cases.
Right, yeah.
But this was an opportunity before Supreme Court of Canada to really get this done once and for all. So our presentation was on that angle, and that no expert should have the right to actually tell a practitioner, these 4 families, basically their level of practice is different than the combined forces, all of them doing it together.
Yeah.
You know, we, for example, can go to all gurdwaras,
Yeah.
do it actually, and gurdwara has a different mandate. And individually at home, we practice different.
Yeah.
So anyway, guess what? 9-0 decision
Wow.
in the
That's
Supreme Court.
awesome.
It changed the Canadian law.
Okay.
And it's still to this day being taught. The young lady that changed this was my daughter, who was a
Wow.
lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so it changed the total law. I mean, that's there. And we also took a case for the Catholic community. I mean, they're the largest denomination in the world.
Right.
They ran into the human rights problem in Quebec as well. Their schools called Loyola, Loyola, Christian schools, and they were. And the government said, you know, your curriculum has to change to accommodate other religious type of things, something to that effect. You know, the specific words that we'll have to look for. And they again lost at the lower court, lost in appeals court when it went to Supreme Court. So asked us to intervene again.
Yeah.
We intervened on their behalf, and luckily we won.
And was your daughter in charge of that? Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, no. Most of those precedent-setting cases actually are won by her.
Wow.
Yeah. And so no, that, you know, we defended Muslim girls actually to wear their hijab. And when they were stopped actually from playing in a soccer field, we defended even actually a young Scottish high school grad student. Actually, he wanted to wear his kilt in Alberta.
Okay.
And nobody came out to help him right away when the problem arose. And guess what? World Sikh Organization took that up. We said, we will defend you.
That's awesome.
Soon as we issue the first press release, everybody jumps on the bandwagon. In less than 2 days, the superintendent backs out. He allows him to wear his kilt.
Okay.
So we have done that for every community.
Yeah.
We don't shy away.
That's awesome. And so you've lived in Canada for so long. What has changed about the physical environment? How has it developed?
This country has become very much more on the compassionate ground, accommodating right now. Despite some people will argue that we still have a bit of a racist attitude among some, that's always going to be there.
Right.
Let's not forget it. Nobody can produce a society that is actually just looking in one direction.
Yeah.
That has changed, totally changed. From majority people looking at you with a different eye. Today, majority of people are looking at you as partners in this country.
Yeah.
I find that. I think our generations actually have become more involved. We are not isolated to just one segment of the workforce.
Yeah.
We have become integrated in real sense and taken on more decision-making position. Doesn't matter which area and which profession you look at. Today, you have professionals who are part of actually every aspect of our society.
Right.
And then in the political landscape, you've seen it change there as well.
Yeah.
People have gone. I had never in my dream imagined that Canada would have 4 cabinet ministers from a Sikh community. I never imagined in my dreams. And when I was initially growing up here, but I would say partially growing up here.
Yeah.
So it's there. The country accommodates you, allows you an opportunity, but it also gives you. You also have an obligation to the country.
Right.
What I'm asking in our community and youngsters here, don't ghettoize in your own community. Get out.
Yeah.
Okay, mix up with the broader community base, which I found was much more effective in smaller communities, like our kids growing up or other in smaller communities. Their friends were more non-Sikhs.
Yeah.
If they are going to they ever having a sleepovers, it's no problem.
Okay.
When we were raising our kids, but I find actually in our communities here where we live right now, our youth basically, sure enough, I love them speaking Punjabi.
Yeah.
But their Punjabi is more of a different type.
Yeah.
Okay. And rather than they always get together with their own friends.
Right.
Those who branch off and become part of the broader mainstream community will always succeed.
Yeah. Okay. And if you could give a message to the youth as they're growing up, what would you like to tell them?
Be an ethical individual. We have a bit of a challenge within the community. I know kids learn from their parents.
Yeah.
And message for the parents is same. If our faith teaches us to treat everyone equally, then do so and prove it.
Right.
Between both sexes as well. Don't treat your sister any different than you will treat your brother.
Yeah.
And promote them. And improve from all, as the Sikhi teaches us, lust is the biggest thing, that can really corrupt you. Get away from lust. Get away from greed. Get away from home, as we talk, ego aspect of it. Do get involved, actually, and there are emotional attachments we're all involved with. And there's anger aspect as well. Control these vices, and you would become an effective messenger of Sikhi, an effective and very powerful messenger of actually humanity work, and you should do the seva, and this is where you learn, by the way. And in closing, I can basically say that the World Sikh Organization does offer leadership training to the youth. Every year we pick up 20 students from university all across the country.
Okay.
And take them actually in for a week for training.
Okay.
And they are trained by the highly professional, both in all fields for business. That they want to get into business, or they want to get into politics, they want to get into social service, they want to get into human rights work. We train them actually in that, and so this is our 5th year. So we now have a group of almost 100 kids actually who have gone through that. Every year we also bring in people, students during the summer. We hire anywhere from 7 or 8 people, and we train them. 4 up west here, 4 up east, both in the legal interns or community outreach intern. Participate in that. Just wake up and do it.
Yeah.
You got to be part of it. I'm so proud of the younger youth that's coming up. Yes, we have challenges.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to get over them. But what gives me satisfaction when I look at the younger generation right now, truly getting involved in the service.
Yeah.
I'm very proud. It's given me. I'll say I'm more blessed actually to see that happening right before my eyes.
And I guess just to close it off, what do you do nowadays?
Well, I did my management consulting for a long time after I closed the mills.
When did you retire from that management consulting?
Maybe a year and a half ago.
Okay, you worked for a long time then.
Yeah, I still do it actually on a casual basis, on a smaller scale. I don't do it on a larger scale. But that managed consulting job was taking me around the world.
Wow.
I spent time in China, I spent time in Europe, I spent time with. It was more of a different magnitude actually consulting. Mine was a management consulting role, looking at a company, their financial issues, their marketing problems, or their banking problems, or their management problem itself. So I'm looking at all 4 aspects of a company and suggesting changes. So that's what I was doing. But then I've gone into an authorship. I decided actually in 2016 when I went back to Punjab after 38 years.
Oh, you went back after 38 years.
They had banned me. I couldn't go because I was a human rights activist.
And then did it stop? Did they stop the ban or?
I was blacklisted, Harleen, for 38 years.
And then they took you
They had reduced that list. Actually, my name was there. That you could visit. So I went in, applied, and got in. I went there when I was at Darbar Sahib. I'm actually on the top floor and contemplating actually my life. Well, that's where my life started anyway. When I went to the Air Force, I had spent 10 days at Darbar Sahib because my Air Force entry exams were taking place in Amritsar at that time. So just reflecting back on that time, and I said to myself, I don't want to be consulting all my life. I want to finish a book, write something that I have seen happening, and tie in this story on the book. And the book is called An Uncommon Road. An Uncommon Road, how Canadian Sikhs struggled out of the fringes into the mainstream. So I finished this and released it last year. And it's gone pretty good, very good. A lot of good responses. And very, both Sikhs and non-Sikhs. It's not actually targeted for the Sikh community alone. In fact, Sikh community has asked me to really have it translated, which I have done. Punjabi University, Patiala, actually a dean from the language departments, Dr. Amit Palkar, has already edited that. So it should be getting published here within the next couple of months.
That's awesome.
That'll come with the Punjabi version will come, but I'm also writing another one.
Okay. Wow.
So that draft is already done, and it'll probably come out before the end of the year. In the meantime, I think there was a request by the community that they're writing 2 more books. Like they wanted a book on Guru Nanak.
Okay.
So on both books, actually, one group is publishing one, the other one, both groups have asked me to really write 1 chapter for each of the books there. So I've just finished that. In fact, as you walked in, I was editing, basically reviewing it, and before I sent it out actually for the publishing there. So I'll have 2 articles, 2 chapters actually in those 2 books. So that goes on, but I still continue to do my seva. But in the meantime, we have also done another thing that. There were Afghan refugees.
Okay,
refugees. And we sponsored them. Our family sponsored as well. Two families we sponsored
from where?
From Afghanistan.
Okay.
This Afghanistan Sikhs and Hindus both were. Okay. And they were really suffering, Harleen, there, and their businesses were looted, and they were paying taxes called jizya. And when they walked out of their houses, they were actually identified with a yellow tag as you walked out in public, so that a Muslim fellow walking by, you should not by mistake say salam or a salutation. So they knew that you're a kafir, you're an infidel. And imagine the life. And the girls couldn't get out of their house actually without burqa, even to go to Gurdwara.
Oh, Sikh girls.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So in 2014, one of the fellows actually sent us a message to our office, to our legal counsel, Balpreet Singh, saying that, hey, we've been given your number by Canadian High Commissioner and also UN to approach you, that you can probably help us, please. We've been we're being killed. Our leadership is being killed.
Right.
And so we took upon ourselves and then talked to Mr. Puller, who was a cabinet minister, and Manmeet Singh Puller, and he Conservatives had lost at that time, and he said, I'm available. But give me that project. So he took over the project. Poor guy was not here with us. He was killed in that accident later on. So between Puller Foundation, that's established by his father and his sister, and ourselves, we sponsored together actually 65 families. And so of those 65 families, they're here. So we're still, it takes lots of time. It was a private sponsorship. Each one of us had to put up $25,000 to sponsor one family. So people were allowed opportunity to do, they could get together, 4 or 5 of them, and raise that 25. But our family, our kids actually sponsored one family, and we did. Sundakor and I sponsored the other one. We said, hey, we'll just do. So we sponsored 2 families.
And they're doing well now?
They're here now. They've been here now for 3 months.
Okay.
All 65 haven't arrived. Only so far about 18 have arrived, I think.
Oh, still more coming?
Yeah, there's more coming in, and so their process is, they're in process.
Okay.
And so our hopes are to also bring, there's about 210 families still left in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
After these families, these 65s are already in India right now, because you had to really get them to a third country, safe country, to bring them over. And our hopes are that other people, even some youngsters who are listening, actually, should be able to sponsor. Yes, there's a cost. The cost has gone up now from $25,000 to $32,000. You had to put up 50% up front in a trust fund, and then the balance take the responsibility for 1 year to support them when they arrive here. But they're doing very well, very well. And in fact, I had tears in my eyes. Family that we sponsored, actually, they have 4 kids. We put them in school. They had never gone to school, by the way. The oldest one is 12 years old. Never saw high school. So one day, they come back after school. The younger girl, she's 9 years old. Grandpa, she calls me Babaji, Babaji. I love Canada, she said. You can cry, honestly. We've been all blessed with everything, in contrast to what they have gone through.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and sharing your stories.
Thank you indeed. Much appreciated.
Thank you.